Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are on our second of two VLM calls. We had a little bit of technical difficulties when we were doing this last week, so we were not able to get a recording of the call and to put it up on YouTube. We think we have fixed that problem for this call. So as soon as this is wrapped up, I'm going to be working on getting that uploaded and sending it out to everyone that is in this call right now and everyone that couldn't join us today. Without much further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Sean, the administrator of the poll working department.
How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's having a great day on this rainy day. We in here trying to take care of some business. Thank you for joining the call with us today. So we're going to get into we're going to have just a couple key points that we want to talk about. And so I'm just going to start that off and then I'm going to pass it back to Kyle. And one of the first things I want to do, and I'm sure you guys already know this, but we just want to put it in to remind you about a couple things. So on Monday night, remember all e-poll books have to be turned on, but the first thing you should be doing is turning that router on. Remember, that router is kind of tricky. You have to hold that power button down until you start seeing things populating in your face and everything's you can hear it sometimes. And if you can't hear it, you'll see the screen start like little bouncing bubbles start jumping around on the screen. And then plug it into the power cord. Then turn on your e-poll books after that, but you have to turn them all on. We can see everything down here at the board. We can see which ones are turned on and which ones have not been turned on. So if we start calling you and asking you to turn those on, you know why. We also wanted to let everyone know that you're going to receive fewer voting booths. So if you're in fewer e-poll books as well, because of the lower turnout that they are expecting. So if you've been doing this for a while and you're used to seeing your location have 5 e-poll books, you won't have that this time. You will have 4. If you're used to seeing 4, you won't have that this time. You'll be down to 3. And and we just wanted to let everybody know. So a lot of times people they'll remember what they had and this is what I should have, and they'll be worried. But also you're going to have instructions in your special instructions bag. If you look in there, all of this information that I'm telling you, you will have in the special instructions bag. So don't worry about that as well. And then the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is when we're updating the e-poll books. Now there's a pop-up window when you turn it on that's asking you to allow it to it's tracking. We track the e-poll books now. So you just have, if the pop-up happens on your e-poll book, all you have to do is hit allow. That's all you have to do with that. There is a description and a picture of that pop-up that will be in your special instructions bag as well. So don't worry about that. Like I said, everything that I'm talking about, you will find in your special instructions bag. We actually took a screenshot of it and printed it up for you. So, and like I said, we gave you an example of the decrease as well of the e-poll books. Like I said, that's in there as well. So don't be worried about anything. And like I said, we're just, as far as the e-poll books, they're tracking all of them. So like I said, if you get that pop-up, that is just hit allow and carry on. And I think that's all for me, Kyle. Yes. So I'll pass it back on to Kyle.
All right. So you guys should have all picked up your stuff already today. Got those blue ballot bags and everything. That also came with the special instructions bag. Everything Sean just said, like he was saying, make sure you're opening that bag up and giving it a read. I wanted to briefly touch on the different kinds of elections that we are going to have in the county this spring. Most of the county is not voting on much. There's a statewide ballot issue, so everyone in the county can vote. And in the city of Cincinnati, there is a nonpartisan mayoral primary. There's 3 people running for mayor, and voters can select one of those options, in addition to the statewide ballot issue. In the village of Silverton, there is a Democratic Party primary. And in the city of Harrison and in Sharonville Ward 4, there is a Republican Party primary. If you are the manager of Silverton, Harrison, Sharonville Ward 4, you've got an additional page in your special instructions bag that explains what that's going to look like on your end. Essentially, only in those 3 specific areas will voters have a choice of 2 different ballot styles. In the village of Silverton, they'll be able to pick Democratic plus issues or issues only. In Harrison and Sharonville Ward 4, they'll be able to pick official Republican Party ballot and issues or issues only. Everywhere else, including the city of Cincinnati, they will only have 1 ballot style that they have to pick, and it will be labeled nonpartisan/issues. That'll include the mayor's race in the city of Cincinnati. Outside of the city of Cincinnati, it'll just be that statewide ballot issue. So kind of a scattershot this spring, but it should be pretty easy for voters to understand that there's not much on the ballot and they have to select their ballot style. After that, just a quick note that keep up with those categorized notes pages that we introduced last year. Personnel notes, void notes, provisional notes, and I'm blanking on the last one, actually. I think it's just general notes. Please keep those notes. They really help us out a lot. If anything weird or funky happens at your polling location, you can write that down in the general notes pages. We'll get it after the election. I'm going to turn it over to Liv for a few moments.
All right, so if you guys weren't aware, this election, we have 3 different streams of training that we had. So for the end of March, we did online training available, and then we had 2 different in-person training. And this is important because everyone who did that online training, they will not have that training completion card because they didn't come here to the board. So they will have an email, and all they need to do is show you that email that they took that quiz. If they don't have one, if they can't find it, you can go ahead, just give us a call here, call Haley or Jason, and we should be able to confirm that for you if there's any questions. And then we just wanted to touch on curbside voters real quick. That was something we really focused on in class. We just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware there are the 2 different alternatives for curbside voting. So they can call the number on the board that you're going to hang up at there's 2 signs this year that you're going to hang up on one of the handicap accessible signs at your location. And so that person will call that number, call the board will call you to let you know there's someone outside, or they can send that representative inside from their car. And then with that representative inside, they will let you know they are waiting, and you just follow that representative. We have heard of people sending that representative after waiting back to the car to call. Please don't do that. That's them waiting in line for their voter. So please just go ahead, send those PEOs out and vote them that way. And then Dave wanted to add a few thoughts on curbside just to make it easier if you do have voters.
Okay, hi, I'm Dave. I'm voting location manager on the east side. I just wanted to touch on a couple things I think are important that I like to use every year, especially the checklists, which are in the voter location manager handbook. I use those every year just to make sure that we're gentle with our equipment and we get everything done during the day. I also think it's important to rotate the PEOs throughout the day so somebody doesn't end up doing the same thing all day. Very important that people are exposed to other things, especially with a little slower election here, to get those folks used to operating the poll books that maybe normally don't do that. The one thing I would add to curbside voting is, as far as ballots, I manage a triple precinct location. So we really want to try to narrow down the ballot that the voter in the car will need by either having the representative give you that name or asking for the name when the board calls you and gives you that. So we can manually look those up and we can find out what ballot style to take out. If we have to take more than one ballot out, the board is asking us to void the other ones that we don't use. And that's simply done by writing void on there, sticking it in the voided envelope, and making a note in the house that in the forms binder, making a note that I voided a ballot because I didn't know what precinct the voter was in that voted curbside. Make sure to whenever your setup and takedown must be bipartisan representation when you're setting up the V scans and the access rider and the polling books. Provisional ballots, I like to talk about that. I had a little issue at my polling location last year where I didn't give real good instructions to a couple people I had working the VAT polling book, and we ended up putting a lot of all the ballots in one envelope. So we do have 3 envelopes, so we do need to make sure that folks understand that they are precinct specific. I did make a note and we did figure it out, but I would like everybody to pay a little closer attention to that. And we have 3 types of unscanned ballot potentials. We have the 17-year-olds, we have the curbside voter, of course, and for equipment failure, we would have to use an unscanned ballot. And those are also precinct specific. Remind the PEOs to check for expired IDs. We are the only thing that can stop a voter voting with an expired ID. There's no magic upload from the motor vehicles department or anything like that. We are responsible for checking the IDs. And if someone has a state ID or expired driver's license, do remind them they can use a passport and go home and get that. And also, if it's early in the day, maybe that's the first time they realize that their ID has expired, and they can go over to the motor vehicle department and take care of that day, and then bring that paper back to you, or we can do a manual entry. We probably won't see a lot of 17-year-old voters this election. There's not a lot for them to vote on. They could vote in the city of Cincinnati, of course, for the mayor candidate. They can't vote on any the state issue, which is the biggest thing we have that affects the whole county. They cannot vote for a school levy. But so we have a stopgap with them. You'll have to, if they're going to be 18 before the November election, they can vote for the mayor in the city. They can vote for the mayor in Silverton, Harrison, Sharonville, World 4, but you always want to put that in to make sure they haven't voted for an issue. So that's why we do that. I kind of think that's all I have. Sean's next on the list. I'll talk about emergency cards.
Yes, just a reminder to everyone, take note of all your exits. Pass out your emergency action cards and review the evacuation route during your Monday night meeting. Not on Tuesday, during your Monday night meeting. Kyle?
All right. So our last kind of thing that we want to talk about here, just a little thing to focus on, is who has to come to the Board of Elections after the election to show us ID. That is only provisional voters who did not have ID, who had expired ID, or who had unacceptable ID. It is not every single provisional voter. In the fall, we had around 110 people come to us to present ID that did not need to. That is a big inconvenience for the voters that don't need to do it. So once again, the only voters that have to come here within 4 days of the election to present valid photo ID are those provisional voters that did not have ID, unacceptable ID, or expired ID. So what we've been doing here for the last few minutes is just kind of going over some action items, right? Things that we saw that could be tightened up or fixed a little bit from the fall of 2024, and challenges that we anticipate with this election coming up, like those 17-year-old voters. That's pretty unique to a primary election. At this point, we'd like to turn it over to you guys. If you have questions for us, if there's anything that we could help clarify or we could clear up, please write those questions in the chat, and we will start to answer those as those come in. If you're not able to access the chat, I know it can be a little tricky on an iPhone or a tablet or anything like that. Give it a few minutes. Let's see if there's anyone else, and then you can unmute yourself, ask the question out loud. So that's kind of the real focus of this call. We want to have a forum of ideas, of questions. If anything that's on your mind, start typing it in the chat and we can help answer. And if you don't have any questions, hey, I guess we did an amazing job. All right, can you please explain the challenged voters list? Karen, that's a great question. The good news with this is I don't anticipate this to come up very much at all this election. It was a big deal in the fall. Citizens are allowed to challenge a voter's voter registration. And this challenge form can actually be found in your forms binder. So on Monday night or on Tuesday, you can take a look at that. Essentially, what they are doing is calling into question the eligibility of that voter. and it starts a very formal process here at the Board of Elections. There is a lot that goes into it. I don't want to get too tied up in the esoterics, and I especially don't want to say anything out of turn or incorrect. So if you've got a specific question about the challenged voters list, best idea would be to call the Board of Elections here on Monday when we reopen for business at 8 a.m. and ask to speak to either Chuck, Raquel, or Sherry. Those are some administrators and deputy directors and directors here that can answer that a little bit better than I can. But again, we don't really anticipate that to be a big problem this spring. Demetra's asking, can you reiterate the things we can and cannot to say to voters about the ballot? That's a great question. Dave, would you like to take that one?
What can we not, we really, what are you asking for? Can we give them advice on how to vote for the ballot? The only real restriction I can think is related to the 17-year-old question is, yeah, in the statewide, and where I live in Anderson Township, we had one issue to vote. So no, the 17-year-old would not be allowed to vote in that election. I'm not quite sure what she's asking other than advice or
yeah. We don't want to give our opinions, right? We
Yeah.
never want to give a voter our thoughts or our opinions or even our explanation of what that issue is. We have to be nonpartisan, and just getting into the weeds of that is not a good idea to maintain public trust and to be nonpartisan. If a voter asks you, hey, what is issue 2? There is a summary of that bill written on their ballot.
Yes.
So you can say, what I'd like you to do is read your ballot, read through that. If you have any questions, I can't really give you any advice or my opinions on things, and kind of leave it at that and hope that that helps to answer their question.
And it's very, very convoluted language on the ballot there with a lot of lawyerese, but it's what it is, you know.
Yep. All right, can we scroll up just a little bit? Oh, okay, great. Okay, so if we only have a statewide ballot at our location, does that mean no 17-year-old can vote? Correct. Yes. So if you're out in the county, you're outside of the city of Cincinnati, in Dave's example, Anderson Township, no 17-year-olds can vote on that issue. So really, if someone comes in, they're 17, you look them up in the e-poll book. The e-poll book tells you they're a 17-year-old voter. Ooh, I don't want to say refuse that voter a ballot, but we know that they are going to be putting their ballot in the unscanned ballot envelope, and the only thing that they can vote on is that issue. We have run into several voters who live outside the county. There does not appear to be a way to redirect them to their correct precinct since they are outside the county. Any guidance on how to handle this situation? That's a great question, Christopher. So Christopher was asking us in a direct message in the chat, what do we do about voters that are outside of the county? So the only way that you're really telling that is you're looking up that voter, using the photo ID that they provided, and your e-poll book would tell you no voter found, right? They're not registered in Hamilton County, so we would not see them in our e-poll book. At that point, maybe they say something along the lines of, well, I live up in Mason, or I live over in Loveland. And you can ask them, are you registered to vote here in Hamilton County? If they say yes, or I don't know, or I think I am, you're going to hit that red no voter found button on the e-poll book and proceed with those steps to process them provisionally. If the voter says, no, actually, I know that I'm registered up in Butler County, or I know that I'm registered in Claremont County, you're going to want to gently suggest that they go to their proper polling location to vote in order to have their vote count. So I hope that's a good answer for that.
Would there be a way they could look themselves up by going to that Board of Elections, though, right?
They could absolutely do that. That's a great suggestion from Dave. Do you want to reiterate that?
Just have them go to that Board of Elections. I know I've got friends in Claremont County, and it works much like ours do. If you go in there and type where your zip code, your street address, it is going to tell you where you do need to go vote. So
yeah. A big thing here, though, is we never want to refuse a voter a ballot, right? It is not our job. It is not your job as managers to be the judge and the jury with these things. If someone is insisting that they need to vote, if it's that 17-year-old in Anderson Township and they're saying, I want to vote, or if it's someone that says, I'm registered in Butler County, but I want to vote here, that's where the provisional process comes in. We never refuse anyone a ballot. Can you reiterate what a 17-year-old can vote on? Liv, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so I think Kyle did mention it again, they can only vote on people basically on the ballot. So it's kind of people for primary specifically, it's people who will also be on the ballot in November. And because they turn 18, they have a right to choose who to vote for. So it's just people and it's no issues. So that's why in most locations where it's only one thing on the ballot and that's the issue, they can't vote on it. So just keep that in mind. And like Kyle was saying, we don't want to say, no, you can't vote. So if that 17-year-old still wants to say, well, I want the ballot, give it to them, say, hey, yeah, you're a 17-year-old unscanned. The board will handle it from there.
Yep, we got a lot of folks here and a lot of resources to kind of investigate all of those things. This is my first time being a VLM, and I'm a bit confused on what the VLM does during the election. Are our tasks similar to the same to PEOs, or are we doing different tasks for the duration of the election? I think the perfect man to answer this question is our manager, Mr. Dave Gelter.
You are a leader. You're the leader. You're in the leadership role. And I like to designate lots of stuff for people to do and keep an eye on and make sure that it's done correctly. That's why we have great checklists here. And you want to be mindful that you are the leader of the team, solving any problems or issues, being that person that voters can come to if there is a conflict or an issue, trying to be that person who calls the help desk. Try to be that person who's willing to sacrifice yourself. If not everybody can get out to a lunch break, you're going to, be the person who may only get a half an hour that time. People are really looking for organization and leadership. People want to know that that's organized and that you're, as I said earlier, you're rotating folks around and you're the face to the public. So in case there's any problems or issues and you're acting in a professional way, talking to the voters like you would want to be talked to. That's my best suggestion.
Something to that.
By all means.
Want to add a couple things to that as well. VLM, if a troubleshooter is coming into your location, they're going to be looking for you.
Yep.
First, and then the VLD. And so if you're having problems, some issues, and you're going to have troubleshooters coming in and out of your area throughout the day. So if you need to grab one of them and you need some help with some things, or when you reach out to the help desk and you need a troubleshooter to come to your area, they're going to be looking for you first. And and while I'm on that point, please make sure that you have your phones on and turned up. So if we do need to reach out to you, you can hear the phone ringing, because we'll just keep going down the list until we find somebody to answer that phone at that location. But if you have your phone up, turned on and the volume turned all the way up, I will be so grateful. I appreciate you so much.
I will reiterate that. When we are working on the help desk, there are some times that we need to get in touch with you rather than you getting in touch with us. That might be calling to remind you to, hey, print off that 11 a.m. list, print off that 4 p.m. list. It is very difficult to get in touch with someone when no one is picking up their phones at the location. So please keep your volume up, answer the calls that they come in. 513-946, that's the Board of Elections calling. So if you see 513-946, please pick up. It makes our days a lot easier.
Yeah, don't be afraid to call the help desk. They're your friends. Even if it's something that you think and someone's standing in your face and you get a little flustered and you can't really remember it. I've never been told, oh, Dave, that's really a stupid question. Why are you calling us? Because they're there to help you remember even the most basic things that you could have just not remembered or you just can't make. And that shows that voter that you're taking that extra step to look for other resources when they may not, having a problem with what you're saying to them. So please call your help desk. These are all people who are very, very experienced at what they're doing.
That's a great point. Yeah. And just to kind of wrap up that question about the role of the VLM, reiterating what everyone said already, you are acting as the coordinator of the location, right? Those checklists in that VLM handbook and that are also in the quick guide are very, very helpful for reminding you of everything that you are responsible for assigning. Not necessarily doing, but assigning people to do. Then we have a lot of locations where the manager likes to be the one that is working the VAT e-poll book. If you guys remember from your classes or previous elections, the VAT e-poll book is the one that handles provisional voters, prints off the 11 and 4 list, has the clocking in. So if you're a manager and you would like to work the VAT e-poll book, by all means, but please rotate that responsibility throughout the day as well. Our managers and our deputies are also typically the ones that handle ballot accounting at the end of the night, because the manager is assigning those PEOs to closing duties and asking them to bring those tally tapes back to them from the VScan so that they can perform ballot accounting. If you've got someone at your location that thinks they are better suited to it, or maybe they've got a little bit more experience with the ballot accounting, it is absolutely okay to not do the ballot accounting as a VLM. Just ensure that you've got bipartisan teams doing everything with ballot accounting, closing the equipment, everything like that. Bipartisan's the rule of the day.
So I just want to point out, Leslie responded in the chat. She said that when she has out of county voters, she calls the help desk, and then the help desk gives her the number of that county if they know what county they're in, and then she lets them talk to that county's board. And that's definitely, I recommend doing that if they know which county, because we want to get them to vote.
Great idea. Thank you.
Elisa is asking, did the number change for the BOE? And if so, is there any updated information that will be provided? Inside cover of your quick guide. Look at the inside cover of your quick guide. We mailed that to you. You picked it up in class as well. So you should have a couple copies knocking around. And if you don't, they're going to be in the supply box in your caddy. Inside cover of that quick guide has all of the phone numbers. Our phone system is now common with the rest of the county agencies that exist throughout Hamilton County. Previously, we were kind of on an island. And that made things really difficult for other people in the county, made difficult with the, telecoms companies. So now we're kind of all on a common phone system. Check out that inside cover of the quick guide. It'll have all of those phone numbers. All right. We can wait around here. We can answer some more questions if they come in. And thank you guys for being here. This is this is something we started doing a couple years ago, and I don't think we're ever going to get rid of it. This is a great time for folks to ask questions or get clarification. Sometimes those classes can be a little bit noisy, or, it's late at night and you want to get out of there. So this is a great time to ask questions. And hey, if it's not something that you're thinking of now, but you think of later, feel free to email Sean, myself, Liv, give us a call. We're happy to answer any of those questions as they come up.
Okay, so we're talking in the chat about that break that you guys get throughout the day. So it's 1 hour total for we call it a lunch break. But what some people do, if they want to split it half hour for lunch, half hour for dinner, or they use the whole hour, it's really up to whatever you guys want and how busy you guys are. Considering we're going to be pretty slow, everyone will probably want to do maybe that half hour for lunch and then half hour around dinner time. You just have to make sure that there's always bipartisan representation at your location. So never send out all the Democrats at once, vice versa with the Republicans. And if you have any more questions about that, just call the help desk, call Haley or Jason. But we usually say, 1 hour lunch/dinner, and then, a few 10-minute breaks here and there throughout the day.
Yeah, and you as the manager should find out what party folks are from so that you can keep that balance. Have them, you don't need to announce the whole world, well, she's a Democrat, he's a Republican, but you need to be aware of who is what. So just like Liv just said, so you can send one of each to lunch at the same time so you can maintain that bipartisan representation. Also see a question there about what happens if my polling location's not open. I've had this problem of it not being open, but I've had a problem where I arrive at the gymnasium and there's the girls' flag team in there practicing, or they're having a basketball practice, we have those things arranged to be there at 6:30, and that's why we have a guy named Mel and a guy named David who will answer the phone and they will take action on your behalf. You should not be the one going in there and having an altercation or getting angry with someone, have someone getting angry with you. I found out when that happens, it's best to just step outside, call Mel or David on the phone. Right in your handbook, it tells how to get a hold of them, and they make a call, and pretty soon things end up getting worked out. Anything else you guys want to add to that at all?
That's on that inside cover of the quick guide again, and it'll say polling locations. Then I have 2 phone numbers underneath that. So if you've got a question, if you can't get in or if there's a conflict with the space, call the number that says polling locations, and you're kind of cut out the help desk. If you call the help desk with that question, they're going to immediately transfer it to those 2 gentlemen.
Yeah.
So call that polling locations number. They'll be able to work it out. All our PEOs are listed without dem or rep parties. We are aware of that. Look at the clock in sheet on your e-poll book on Monday night. The clock in page on your VAT e-poll book will list party affiliation of all of your PEOs. Using 2 nonpartisan PEOs for bipartisan tasks, I'm not wild about
I
that.
don't like that idea.
I'd like to have 1 named party, either a Democrat and a Republican, and 1 nonpartisan. That constitutes a bipartisan team. But 2 nonpartisan PEOs is not necessarily bipartisan. Do we have any other questions? Anything coming up? Anything, I could talk about my astrological signs, my horoscopes coming up. Can we all get a measuring tool for the 100-foot measure?
No.
Well, Dave says no. I do know that all of our polling locations are assessed on a fairly regular basis. And our team that goes out there, they do take a measuring tool out. They measure that 100-foot distance, and that is provided to you in your diagram of your polling location, roughly where that 100-foot arc is. In addition, you can also take a couple paces. 1 pace is about 2 or 3 feet. You can pace out 50 feet or 50 steps from your front entrance. That's roughly 100 feet as well.
Yeah.
All right. Does only the VLM and VLD know the PEO's party affiliation? Party affiliation is actually part of a public record in Ohio. And it is written on that PEO clock-in. So, as they're getting clocked in on the e-poll book, they'll see that. Cynthia Oglesby is saying, how are VLMs chosen? This is one of my favorite strange esoteric rules here. So, VLMs are representatives of the party that carried that polling location in the most recent gubernatorial election. Quite a mouthful. VLMs are representatives of the party that carried that polling location in the most recent gubernatorial election. So if you are a Democratic manager of your location, you know that in the previous governor's race, your location had a majority of voters voting for the Democratic candidate. If you are a Republican manager, you know that your location had a majority of your voters voting for the Republican candidate for governor. So it is not willy-nilly. It is based on parties and based on governor's races. And then obviously the deputy is the opposite party of that manager.
Now, Cynthia, is that what you were looking for with that question? I would like to know, did we go the right direction with that?
I don't know. Maybe I didn't.
No.
Let us know, Cynthia.
Okay, great. Good.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So if everything goes according to plan. Oh, okay. Linda has a question. I can wait for that one. Linda's furiously typing right now as fast as she can. Basically, for my location, I have 7 workers and only 1 is male. We have tables to move and get down, and other workers are old. Ooh, well, I don't want to use a word like that. But yeah, I can understand that there's a little bit of concern about some of the physical aspects of getting the location set up. I would say the best idea for this would be to call the help desk, and we can send a troubleshooter out there to help you guys get set up. You know, if there's some of that heavy lifting that the troubleshooter can do, they can't spend all night with you guys helping you out because they have to keep an eye on other locations, but they could come over and help you get things set up. All right. I think the option for the online classes was awesome. I appreciate that. We're trying some new things out here. You guys also maybe saw that there was this advanced class that we had. So we're always trying to continuously improve our processes, to continuously improve the work that you guys do, to continuously improve the experience that voters have, right? The name of the game here is the 600,000 plus registered voters of Hamilton County. There are more registered voters in our county than there is in the entire state of Wyoming. We wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. Thank you so much for your service. Thank you for being here. And I am going to try to get this recording out to you guys as soon as possible. So if everything goes according to plan, I think we fixed the glitches that we had last week. We're going to get this as an MP4. We'll put it up on YouTube, and I will immediately send that out to you once it's up on YouTube. Give us a call if you have any questions. Send us an email if you have any questions. One last time, thank you for your service. You guys make all of the difference to the voters of Hamilton County.
Make sure I get that out. Yes, I want to make sure we thank everybody. We appreciate everything that you do. Do not forget, if you have issues, call the help desk. Don't hesitate. We're here to help you and get people out to you if need be. And also, you're going to have a great election. Don't even worry about it. Everything's going to work out and be great anyway.
Make sure to bring a book. Make sure to bring a book. We suggest doing that. Maybe 2 books. Depends on how fast you read.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But be attentive while your voters are there, but where there will be some downtime.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
And I agree. Go Reds. FC Cincinnati's also playing tomorrow. Could be 6 wins in a row. Just saying. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great election.
Yes. Thank you. We appreciate you. Be great.